So when it comes to the jungle of game boxes or emulation game boxes, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. In the last couple of years they have released so many of these freaking things that I'm just being honest, like even making this top 5 it was a big challenge. A lot of you were asking about it, so that is the reason I'm making this. But when doing all of these reviews, I have noticed, you have noticed, that it's more of the same. You see like some similarities, mainly when looking at the chipsets, because these boxes are basically like based on old Android boxes. So what you're going to get in the end is a lot of the same result. But despite that, I must say there were some interesting things, and that's the reason I wanted to make this top video for you. So take consideration, I think I'm going to make 2 of them, like a top 5, like a short version, more like the budget way, simply because when it comes to Android boxes, there are a lot of them out there, and some of them are like dirty cheap. In the other version, I want to implement more expensive products. And when you're looking into PCs and Android, it are basically 2 separate worlds, but 2 separate prices. So in this video, I just mainly want to focus on the cheap boxes, pick out 5 of my favorite ones and explain to you why this is number 5 up to number 1. You can be naughty and skip if you want to, but I would recommend just see the full video, because not always like the first or the number 1 or 2 position will be the best one for you. Nevertheless, let's get into this jungle of game boxes and let's pick ourselves like favorite ones of 2022, because yeah, there are a lot of like different versions out there, but there are only like 5 ones I really liked because of a certain reason. So let's go with the flow. So this top 5 will basically all like game boxes based on Android. Let's get into the wicked nerdy stuff. So this is the S905 chipset. It comes in all kinds of form factors. Think about the X, the L, and that's basically, in my opinion, let's say the low end stuff. Then we have like the X3 version, and that's a common version nowadays, and has been used this chipset in different kind of boxes, and you will also see it back here in this top 5. And last but not least, of course, then we have the S922X models, and it will be the GT King and the Pro. Also this will be implemented in this top 5, but I want to say this is basically like the 3 ways we're having when it comes to, let's say, Android game boxes, the 3 kind of chipsets that we're going to find. And with these boxes I will make a top 5 and give you explanation why I put some boxes in kind of certain orders. So for the number 5 position I have chosen the Super Console X Max Plus. This is the S905 X edition. So it's similar to, like say, the first generation of boxes of Super Console X with the S905 chip. We have like the L and the M, and you know, like there are some minor differences, but in the end like this version needs to be a number 5 position because of the box. This thing has an absolutely cool looking box, I think it is, but also it comes with good cooling and an active fan. For cooling, sometimes you don't find it very often. Most of them are made very cheaply and don't have like a lot of different, let's say, cooling solutions. But this thing was absolutely great. It also came in different kind of form factors and even have the option basically to have like different kind of cases. I think it was like crystal, like I think it's more like this matte finish and a black version. You have also the option for having these SNES controls or PlayStation controllers when it comes to this. The S905 wasn't like really spectacular when it comes to the specifications. Also, it just comes with a basic 450 MP4 GPU, 1GB of RAM. Despite this thing is completely underpowered, it doesn't have a great support for, let's say, PlayStation Portable, Dreamcast, doesn't even have a Sega Saturn support. It comes with a very old Android. It still has a lot to offer when it comes to this very low chip. Simply because we do have like so many retro games you can emulate on this, and it comes with also a very low price. It comes with Emulator 3.9 and there is no way of updating it. But it is not really necessary, even you can like update it and add some new stuff to it. It doesn't matter because it doesn't run it, because it's just not like powerful enough. But still, 8-bit, 16-bit, Amiga, Commodore 64, the list is gigantic what you can play on this. And again, Atomus Wave, Sega Dreamcast, some of these systems will not run great, but I must say that when you're looking at the overall performance, the price you're paying for it, it comes with a very nice casing. I think it still has a lot to offer. Some games will have like a mixed performance or in general like platform, but when you're looking at it, I think it has so much things to offer for the money. And I think that's the reason also I wanted to put it on my number 5 position, because I think in this very tiny top 5, I think this is still a great box to play all of your old school games and have hours and hours of retro gaming fun, despite this thing comes with a lot of flaws. On the number 4 position, I've chose to put the Hyperbase FC 500GB. So unfortunate, this thing comes with a very old chip. And I mean, like, it's similar to the one of the number 5 position. But the reason I put it in the number 4 position, because it's something completely new. The FC is a little bit weird because you would say like, hey, maybe it's a Famicom, but no, it actually plays a shitload of games. Also, when you're looking at the 500GB hard disk that comes with this, and I think that particular part, I really liked it because it is something new and kinda exciting. But okay, so this device basically has the same kind of chip like number 5. But the reason I put it a little bit higher in my ranking is because this thing comes with a very cool, unique configuration. But don't get me wrong, like basically when you're looking at the game list and everything you can play, it's the same story like with the previous box, and the same flaws will also be implemented in this. But when it comes to the gaming and the overall experience, you do have like the same stuff that we have seen with the previous number 5. But also this thing has been a little bit tweaked here and there, so we have like some new options when it comes to Emulator. So that's always like a gamble, what are we going to get in the end? I think the overall performance for a lot of, let's say, two-dimensional stuff, 8-bit, 16-bit, and also if you're going to look into, let's say, 3DO, we do get some okay performance. Of course, some of these boxes, including the number 5 and 4, are just like low-powered and low-spec boxes, so expect not like much when it comes to, let's say, more like later systems, or real 3DO are quite difficult to emulate, and you just will see it when playing the games with a lot of audio stuttering. The thing I love the most about this thing is that we can play so many retro games and don't have like a lot of limitation when it comes to the storage capacity. We have like SD card with the other ones, this also implements an SD card, but in combination with the 500GB we have so much storage, especially when you're going to look into the PlayStation 1. Like file sizes are quite huge, so if you want to slap up a lot of games of your collection on this, yeah, you do have like an issue with an SD card. And this thing in combination with this unique design, I think is absolutely worth like putting in the top 4 position. Let me know in the comments what do you think of this, and let's go on with the show and let's see what we have more in this top 5 today. For the number 3 position I have chosen the Super Console Cube Edition, the X3, also known with the S905X3 chip. I personally really like this one, and I must say the reason why, because it comes with a very cool, unique case design, and that is something that I really appreciated. And okay, don't get me wrong, this case design is already old because they also sold us with the old school S905 chip in it. It's just like basically an NES Mini Classic ripoff. Yeah, they need to rip something off. But what I do like about it, they basically improved it with many new features, including a front USB, let's say 4 times connections. Absolutely crazy. So if you want to have like a 4-player configuration, it's no problem, you can plug them in there, and also a USB 3.0 at the back. But how about the game? So with the S905X3, it's just a tiny bump up when it comes to the performance. But also what I liked about these things, we have like now Emulator 4.5. So in other words, we have new features, but also new systems that are implemented inside of this machine. And I think that's absolutely crazy. But the other side, don't get me wrong, like we still have like a lot of problems with 3DO, for example. Like those systems are so difficult to emulate, especially on, again, the S905X3 is not powerful enough. So why bothering like adding this S905X3 to the list? So basically it's still better than the S905, of course, but also when it comes to this new Emulator version, we have like so better performance with many systems where we struggled. Of course, and Sega Saturn will not run on full speed, but some of the games are playable with the S905X3, and in combination with the price and the value and the case, I think this is just a great position for this system. Of course, with Sega Saturn we still struggle with some games, unfortunate, that is not fixed. So we can even play a lot of like two-dimensional games with a little bit more performance and better Emulator, because especially the newer software is so much an improvement. But okay, so PlayStation Portable is absolutely, in my opinion, a lot of these games are unplayable, so that is unfortunate. But again, we just need to have more power, and PlayStation Portable is just like the ultimate benchmark for these boxes. Where we maybe don't have like a 500GB storage capacity, I think this unique design when it comes to the casing, it is just a way better cooling, and they try to improve it here and there. I did a full teardown in the video, so if you want to check it out, you can do it there. I think it's just an absolutely great, let's say, thing they created. The S905X3 has a lot to offer, but in combination with this case, I think it's pretty damn cool, especially with all of the USB ports, and this thing gives a little bit of a retro feeling to it, and that is due of mostly it looks like an NES Mini Classic, only deformed with more USB ports. And yeah, again, it's kind of cool. The old version and the new version, but particularly the new version, I think it's so much better with the X3, because with the old Cube we have the same stuff all over again when it comes to the low power chip, or better said, the S905. So this version was cool, but didn't belong inside of my top 5. And we did implement the X3. When you're saying Super Console X King, you're just having a GT King or a Pro. I will put it on number 2. Now we're thinking, hey, why doesn't he basically put the fast and the most powerful on number 1? There's quite a good reason for it. It's just the pricing. This is absolutely like the most powerful box you can get from AliExpress. But like with Magic, it comes with a price. And that's the thing that I don't want to put it on number 1 position, simply because I think when you're looking at the price, performance balance, I think it's not like out of control, but basically when you're looking at other boxes, you're just going to get more value for your money. Especially when you're looking at the S22X. The quad core is absolutely a beast when it comes for emulation. Not like the Nvidia Shield, because that's a different level. This is just a great box for what it is. We also have like the GT King 2 and also the Pro version. And this GT King 2 was a little bit of a bummer in my opinion, but the Pro was quite good. It's a little bit faster, so it has like slightly better performance, but in my opinion, in the end, it's all the same. So let's talk about the Pro. They don't sell it like a kit. You can't just basically get yourself a GT King Pro, slap your Alec SD in it, and you have the same result like a Super Console X. But the thing is, like, this thing has an absolutely great like a housing, and the cooling with this thing is absolutely great. Like, this thing has the best cooling of maybe all of the GT Kings, and that is just a fact. So you're paying way more money than all the other boxes out there, and what you're going to get is we do have like way better performance now with PlayStation Portable. In other words, a lot of games are playable. But take consideration when you're going to look into the like more demanding games, think about in God of War. There I was quite disappointed with the GT King, because here we need to implement frame skip at least one time, simply because otherwise we didn't have like a great performance. And that was like my biggest bummer with this thing. Like, it will give you a lot of better performance with a lot of different systems, but when you're looking and comparing them with the price point and performance, I think for most people this is not maybe like a really ideal situation. For example, with most of these S905 or S905 X3 models, we can play up to PlayStation 1. And you would say like, hey, if you're going to get yourself like the GT King, maybe you can upscale it to 2 times resolution, having a little bit more value to that. But unfortunately, the GT King is not able to do that. So when it comes to PlayStation 1, or basically like up to PlayStation 1, there is no like big improvement. What I did notice, Sega Dreamcast in combination with the Rhythm Emulator, we can run it on 1080p. So for Dreamcast, we do have like way better performance. So there we have like basically a plus side compared with the other boxes. The question remains, what kind of games do you want to play? If you want to play some arcade and MAME, you know, it runs just fine on the older or basically like the cheaper boxes. And I think like the most appealing thing for most people maybe will be Dreamcast, because we have better performance compared with the cheaper boxes. I hope you can still follow me there. So that's the reason I want to put the GT King on number 2, because I think the price and the value is, in my opinion, not the best. Okay, so the number 1, I have chosen to put the Super Console X3 Max Plus with the S905 X3. So we're basically back to the X3 again. And the reason why I wanted to put this one on my favorite number 1 still in 2022, and it's quite simple. This is just an absolutely great value box. So you're not paying like the same amount of money like in GT King. But when you're going to look at the case, this thing has been improved. And I mean, like, we have like different cases and different kind of colors. I already shown you on the number 5 for example. Only this one comes with a way better chip. This is not like the cheap to the cheap chip. No, this is absolutely like a way, let's say, great balanced. The S905 X3, I already mentioned what you can play with it, and that is what I really find appealing to this. Beside the looks, this box has so much more to offer when it comes to like the cheaper ones. For example, the number 5. We have like the same cool looking case. Personally, I think it is one of the best cases they basically made for this. You can just have like good cooling and a chip that performs quite good for the money. Of course, like the number 2 position, it's like a great chip where we can even play a little bit more. But I think when you're looking at the stuff that we can actually play with the S905 X3 and the money you're paying for it, that's where we find the best value. Of course, you can slap up a lot of money inside the box itself, but the performance boost, what you're actually going to get, is not great at all. And that is what I love about this. It's for the most like the common people who just want to add their own favorite games when it comes to the 2-dimensional platforms up to PlayStation 1, and you just want to have like a good cooling for hours and days and maybe years of fun. This is absolutely a great box. We have 2 different shapes I'm showing you here in the video because there are like 2 different versions, but in the end don't matter. Like, this thing comes basically just with the same kind of chipset and the same kind of good cooling. The general support for many platform games, think about up to PlayStation 1, is no problem whatsoever. Of course, above that, think about Sega Saturn, Sega Dreamcast, N64, PlayStation Portable, 3DO. Those systems will always struggle on these cheap chips. But also when you're looking at the number 2, there we have like the perfect performance for PlayStation Portable. But in the end, when you're looking at these game boxes, like Sega Saturn runs surprisingly good on this. Like a lot of games will struggle, but some of them are like playable, like this crazy speedway game, or you just want to play a random shmup. I think that is absolutely great, and I think this thing, even for the money, has a lot to offer in the higher end segment. And there we do have like great performance that I can really enjoy. Also, Sega Dreamcast runs okay on this. Again, like there is no FPS counter on this, but I can tell you like it runs pretty damn good. And even Dead Alive 2, a very demanding game, doesn't like struggle that much that you don't really enjoy it anymore. Then of course with the PlayStation Portable, we don't have great performance, but some two-dimensional games run just fine on this. So also here we have a couple of games that we can play. And again, if you want to get into PlayStation Portable, I recommend just getting a mini PC, because there we have like basically way better performance for less money you need to spend. Same story also applies with N64. A game like Blast Corps you're seeing over here runs pretty damn good, but when you're looking at the Atomic Wave, there we like optimize the game to a certain point that it is absolutely playable on this S905X3 chipset. So where it is just basic conversion of an like say normal Android box in this very nice looking case, I think the X96 board they are using this, for example, with one of these like two, because they're using kind of different versions. But the conclusion is we have like so much to play. I really love the case, how they look and also how they perform. And for the money, I think we cannot really complain. I wish it did something like this with the S9 2022, like the GT King. That would be even cool to make like an Ultimate Edition, or you can just get yourself the Pro, for example. But again, like you're paying so much more. And again, like that's the reason I put this on the number 1 position. The price value is absolutely great with this Super Console X Max Plus X3. Whew, that was a mouthful. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope this video helped out. Let me know in the comments what do you think of this top 5. Are you agreeing with me? Are you missing something out? In this jungle of freaking devices, it was quite a challenge to find the top 5 for you guys. Especially made it. Took me a lot of time. And it will be great to see you in the next video. So subscribe, hit the little bell, and it will be just freaking awesome. Yeah.